Good morning. Thank you, and welcome to our competitive board meeting today on this morning. I'm not sure I'm member Belkey to
Thanks again. Te wahonga ki a mātou, ko rangi Māori, aroha, tūtata, maramatanga, mō tēnā. God give us your peace, your wisdom, your understanding, great decisions for our community. Amen.
Thank you. Now we're going to go into there's no public forum obviously at the moment, so we're going to go into the speakers to the application. So we now have we talk to the Douglas Bay fishing contest.
Gosh,
Please. And thank you for getting it in early.
no problem. Hello, folks. I'm Nick Ryan, representing the Douglas Bay Fishing Contest and Auction. We are a not-for-profit charity or society, I think is a better term, that has picked up the fishing contest that has been running for some 40 years in various forms out on the East Coast, predominantly around Taibar, but also up at Manganui Fire Station for a period as well. It's a tournament that has been run by enterprises like ITM in the past, due to COVID and pressures of work that happened to that company. They looked for somebody else to rectify and revitalise the tournament. We picked it up in 2022 to try and, I guess, re-kickstart it as I remember, have fond memories of it as a kid, or a younger person at least, fishing and partaking with the activities that the tournament has. The idea of the tournament is that we encourage families, and it is very much a family tournament, to be involved with us, catching fish that are then auctioned off, with all the proceeds from those fish going off to local and community organisations. Over the last, 2 years ago, we started with approximately 200 people participating. Last year, that went up by 25%. And from talk to people out in the marketplace and people that were there last year, we have good thoughts that we'll get it up to around about 400, 450 this year, we're hoping. Weather dependent mainly. We have that joy of that controlling a lot of our activities. Last year we put, the first year we put 12,000 back of profits into the community. Last year it was just over 16,000. This year we're looking to raise something like 20,000, which will put us back on a par to the numbers that Danielle told me about when the ITM were doing it, which were quite, a little bit up, but they were having better times than we have at the moment. Our requirement mainly is just some support. The cost of everything is going up, as I'm sure everybody around the table knows. The cost of organising it is growing by a factor, and I've got to the stage where I can't just keep supporting it. You kindly lenders granted us some money last year that enabled the competition to go ahead. We're hoping that you can again facilitate us and enable us to keep this this competition going. It's popular. It's very much a community-run organisation. We're getting people from across our our area, but also from as far afield as the Waikato and Bay of Plenty, people are coming to it. It's going to grow, and hopefully we can get it into back to the realms of it was when the Lions ran it.
Yes.
Multiple years ago. I should say that they're still very much involved with this competition as a fire brigade and so forth. And all the participants that are getting funds from this are involved. So the kids at Taibar School are involved, and we put money up to them, some of them to go on the Tucker Thompson and I think. We're making the donations directly to the school this year again. Things of this stuff are, it's important. It may not be huge funds, but it's good funds, and it's the family getting involved, and that's what we're about.
It's a 2-day competition.
It is a 2-day competition. Well, it takes 6 months to organise, but I'm sure you guys know about that thing too.
Well, thank you. Is there any questions for...
I did notice on the form that there was some lacking of information. We did actually put a couple of submissions in, things like, and I do have here, the management plan, pardon me, and last year's P&L and things like that. And it was sent through on the 20th to the same address that we sent everything else. So I can send it again to you or anybody if so requires.
Is that a copy for us?
You can have that if
Okay,
so
that'll
much.
be really good
So,
to have a look at that. Thank
but
you.
all that information is pretty much on our website as well.
Yes.
We built that. It's about, unfortunately for us, it's about building blocks. And each year we're trying to improve everything for everybody. But, like everything, it can't be done in 5 minutes.
No.
We still can't afford to do it.
Thank you.
Oh, kia ora, Amy. Hey, I see that in your tournament there are 10 community groups that have been nominated. The local marae, which suggests you're working with Hiku and Iwi.
Yes.
Which marae are they by?
I'll give you the exact name of the people as well. Get a letter from them down there. Oh gosh, come here.
It's just I'll get asked this question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe this will give you so wish as well. I'll give you,
Am I looking at?
oh sorry, you got
Is that
ID.
Claudia and Matakairiri, thank you. Okay, that's great. And the other thing I was thinking about, you know how you're saying that you make that money and you give it all away, which is wonderful.
Everything that comes in from the auction, so the fish that we catch and weigh in, they're all, everything there is auctioned back out to the community. So we get maybe up to 2,000 people come each day for the weigh-in stroke auction. And these people are coming from far and wide. A lot of community people, and the money that raised all goes out, except for a few costs like, maybe $500 to $1,000 of the 10,000 or 20,000, whatever it is, the costs that are directly attributed to it. But other than that, everything goes back out to the community.
Okay. I suppose my other question was, would you keep some money for yourselves for the following year?
Well, our hope is that we can, as it's a catch-22. As a non-for-profit, we don't really want to keep money, and it's sort of behaving on us to go again the following year. However, that's something that I'm going to discuss with the people that, the ticket sales. If we get over 350 tickets, I would suggest yes, and then we can become a lot more self-sufficient, and that's the idea. But it's getting to that break-even point, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And also the nature of ours, and it's slightly different too, because it's very much family and community based. A lot of people don't buy tickets until a week or maybe even 2 weeks before in a really good time. But it's very much that last week. So planning is really, really difficult and fraught. You're making all these assumptions that everything's going to go in our way. There's just some difficulties there that we just can't facilitate for properly.
Kia ora.
Thank you.
Through the chair, I hear you there, Nick, because I understand, I run a tournament and we're blessed with selling those tickets and being able to plan. Just from a board perspective, and I think I think I'm speaking for everyone, we love to support, but it doesn't go on every year, if you know what I mean. It's to help these events go forward, get settled. So hopefully this year you can work on, using some of the revenue to support yourselves for next year. Because I know the efforts that you guys are putting in, and there's got to be a way.
Well, my thought process is that assuming that we do get the expected numbers that I'm going to pay forward, so you still make the commitment to be a non-for-profit, but perhaps buy forward into next year by spending that money before the end of the financial year by purchasing, whatever it might be, advertising or X amount of. But these things are also, and that will take the reliance off coming back hand in hand to hopefully yourselves. Well, it's a great table of people to me.
So any further questions? Thank you so much. And
Thank you very much for your time, folks.
We'll be
Trust that we will see you.
considering it further on in the meeting, and that you'll be let know.
If you need any of that further information, put it out. I'm happy to send that on as well.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
Yvonne.
Well, hang on.
Wow.
Thank you.
See you.
I didn't press the wrong button.
Yeah.
So now we'll go on to invite the owner to the table to talk to the drainage issues.
Wait for the open resolution report. We discuss it then,
Oh, okay, so that's when you want to.
and I make that assumption that's when staff are going to be able to explain the new bylaws and things like that are online.
Oh, okay, is that correct?
Okay, so we've got Tanya, Kevin and Roger online at the moment. And they so yeah, we've got them dialed in at the moment. So it's, if you're wanting to go through your questions now, we can do that. We've also got
Oh, sorry, are they going, I didn't realise we got another speaker online. Can I, sorry, beg your pardon. That was my fault for not here. So it would be best to sort of, sorry. So we've got Craig online who's going to speak to the ECC event. 2C. Welcome, Craig.
at Awanui School. Excuse me.
Through the chair, what determines the attendance? Like, why don't all the schools attend as such? Like, is it?
Yeah, we have a capacity. Actually, we don't have an issue outside of Auckland, to be honest, in terms of the space. So where we have space, we have a capacity of 600 or even up to 800. So it's interesting in Kaikoui, which we've had quite a long lead in, and they're really proactive. We got 762 students there last year, which was fantastic. And that was essentially every school in Kaikoui and the surrounding area. I think there were 10 schools there. Last year, we only got to 120 at the Awanui School. So we have talked, in our debrief, we've talked to Sport Northland about having aspirations of doing at least 400 kids. Now, sometimes the Regional Sports Trust will go, that's all very well, but two or three schools in this area here might benefit a lot, and then it's quite a way for others to travel. So in our minds, we want to do 400 plus, and we have a capacity of 600. We put a lot of faith and trust in the RSTs to basically choose the schools that it'll have the most impact in. But sometimes, and we find that in Taranaki as well, sometimes we'll find in a given year will be somewhere that's quite isolated and quite remote. So places that wouldn't otherwise get these events, but it does mean it puts a bit of a lower cap on the number of schools that are able to come. But certainly from a delivery point of view, we're able to do 600 and sometimes by exception 800 if we put on an extra session. So, and that's what we're finding in Kaikoui, where we've gone 600 the first year, 762 last year, and expecting the same again next year. That's right.
The cost to the schools?
It's cost is free to the schools, and that's why. So it's absolutely free. So the schools get to do what would be like a triathlon experience, although it's a course with inflatables and stuff. There's zero cost to the schools. At the moment, where it started that way, that's the moment. At the moment, that's where we want to keep it, is targeting through the RST schools, where the entry fee would be a barrier. So they get a free event, and they get T-shirt, medal, breakfast, bib stickers, all the kind of touch points of a big triathlon event.
Yep.
Awesome. George has his hand raised.
Yeah, so he's our next speaker.
Is there any further questions for Craig? Thank you so much, Craig. We'll be considering the application further on in the meeting, and we'll be informed of the decision later in the day or tomorrow. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Is there anyone else online? George.
Dingle
Yeah.
Foundation.
Oh, okay. The brand is the foundation.
Yes.
Page 50.
Kia ora.
Welcome, George. Yes.
I can't be there in person. I'm at a doctor's appointment, so I couldn't cancel at the last minute. So my apologies. Normally I would be there and present face to face. So my apologies. So you have before you our application. There are 3 points I want to make. The application is for mileage because of the schools that we cover in the Te Hiku area. There's 7 schools. And our staff travel from as far as Kaio all the way to Te Hapua. That's a 300k round trip. And so basically the staff use their own cars. I know that mileage perhaps isn't a attractive funding proposal, but nevertheless it's required. Times are hard for everyone, and with petrol nearly $3 a litre, it really has an impact on us. So there's 7 schools, as you can see there in the Te Hiku area, Te Hapua and Ngātaki, all the way down to Oroaiti. KiwiCan has been around in the far north, Te Tai Tokerau, for 20 years, or over 20 years. We have strong bonds in the community, and we have really good evidence-based research and evaluation to show that our programs work. We work in partnership with other organisations like Sport Northland, like Enviro Schools, and we had a Waka Ama Regatta earlier this year, first time that we've embarked on that field, and it was really successful. But that's another point. But I think it's just showing that we do work with other organisations working in the schools, and in essence that's it really. We in essence it's a big demographic and a big geographic area that we cover. We have 7 schools in your area, which touches about 675 kids. We're in the schools every day, so there's once a day, so once a week, every week we're there, and we have proven track record that our programs work, and we're constantly evaluating and working with other organisations to adapt to the environment, because it is a dynamic environment. So in a nutshell, that's our presentation. Happy to take questions.
Nick, no, George, isn't it? Sorry, beg your pardon. It's a Daryl Gardner speaking. So the program operational expenses, what does that go towards?
So this is the budget that you're looking at. So basically, we employ 4 part-time staff to deliver KiwiCan in those programs, and then we're reliant on grants and sponsors. Well, the sponsors have been very hard in the current climate to fund our programs. The schools do make a contribution, but it's nominal. Given no way does it. It's probably more of a small contribution for the schools, but in essence, it nowhere covers the cost that we deliver. And like I say, we've been doing this for 20 years, and we're expanding as well.
Is there any further questions for George? No.
Oh, kia ora. Kia ora, George?
Yeah.
Tēnā koe. Pai o mahi. I just want to say I appreciate the mahi you do in those small schools that not a lot of other people go to deliver programs. And ngā mihi no tō mahi. Kia ora.
Thank you, Whaia.
Thank you. We'll be considering your application further on in the meeting, and you'll be informed of the decision either today or tomorrow. Thank you. Okay, yeah, your turn. Thank you. Sorry about that before.
No, that's okay. I'm here in regard to follow up. There was an item in the council agenda last week, is it? Yeah. But it got pulled. And I was concerned because the community board is today, and you haven't seen anything yet. And the bylaw actually expired in October, and I wanted just to ensure that it is able to continue, and what council is planning to do with the process. In the past, in 2019, there was a bylaw that moved out of the open for public submission. They were heard by the council in Kaiko, but today, being part of the drainage committee and being involved in the River Protection Society, River Protection Committee, we actually haven't had anything coming forward, and we're in September now, so I want some assurance from the council that this bylaw is not going to lapse, which it did in 2009. I was given assurance in May by email that it was on the work program of all the bylaws that they were working on. But to date, other than hearing it was not the last time, should only be heard sometime later on. And reading the open resolution reports on page 113, that it actually said that you had requested a briefing from Calvin Johnson, Delivery and Operations Manager, about the monitoring and bylaw breaches and for a time frame for the appointment of a land drainage staff member and job description. It also says about the timeline for consenting from the regional council. In the drainage committee, we have been working on management plans. We had a draft in 2007 in order to put in a consent to the regional council. I'm told by regional council staff we do need a management plan as well, which in the management plan would include like drain profiles, what's expected for spray, whether it's the bottom of the drain, the size of the drain, etc. And I would like to see those management plans move on and need to be part of the consent to regional council. My understanding with the regional council is this is a drainage district, so there is no new drains. The drains we look after are the existing ones that's been there since, the early 1900s. Anything else outside of that requires a consent from FNDC and maybe NRC, but there's a concern that the process is not clear or maybe not available for anyone that is digging new drains that connect to county drains. And the other big one in the bylaw is it needs to have the map that shows the drainage boundary areas. And only at the moment, all I can find is the drainage, the county drains that are managed by the council. The rest of the area that pays the rates are included in these areas, and that is where the uncertainty comes with the drainage scheme itself. And I do understand that staff have been changing over the years, and not everyone is familiar with land drainage. And understanding that is only in the Hiku ward. I think there's 2 drainage districts in the Whangarei and 40 odd in the Kaipara. And I believe our councillors have been working with the Kaipara councillors in regard to it. And if we need a resource consent for our existing schemes, they're in the same boat as us, and we should be on board with Kaipara, not creating all this extra work or trying to engage consultants to do something that's already been done by Kaipara staff, because they all go to the regional council at the end of the day. So yeah, that's where I was at. I've got an draft agenda for our drainage committee, which is on the 26th of September. And I'm working through that with staff at the moment. But we're still needing financial figures, some actuals, not budgets. All we've ever got is budgets, and we don't know where we are with the actuals. We've got the issue of the neglect over the last 4 or 5 years that needs to be sorted, but we have to remember that this is a targeted rate. Therefore, we need to rate for any work. If this is going to be a catch-up of work, whereby instead of having a routine so many kilometres of drains machine cleaned over a 3-year period, is going to all happen at once, where is that money coming from? So then I asked, is council going to fund some of this catch-up work from another budget outside of our targeted rate? So that's a big question mark. And there was in the paper here talking about public good component in the drainage district, like there is in the stormwater, etc. But I'd like to know that where that has got to at the moment. And yeah, and that's where it's at. But we, on the 28th, 26th, we should be programming the work for the 25-26 year. And we need to know the contract rate for spraying. We need to know an estimate of a machine cleaning rate. And we need to know how much money we've actually got there. Otherwise, we will need to, at that meeting there, request an increase of rates of some sort.
Yes.
October, December.
Tanya, did you hear all that? No. Oh, thank you.
I agree that we need to, thank you, Fiona, for your help, to be honest. I think, coming into this and not having a lot of historical knowledge, I really do appreciate the background that you've been able to give me as the chair of that committee. So agree, we need to find out what our actuals are. We also then need to understand I think we all know that the lack of maintenance has created a situation where we need to do significant work at the start to get it back to what it was and then keep on top of it. So not a lot of point in continuing to spray something that is overgrown. So I will work to get those actuals and the budget and the actuals so that we can understand exactly how much money we've got. We then need to go and have a look, as you say, Fiona, about how much it's going to cost us to dig those drains to keep that spray contract that we've got, or pay for the spray contract that we've got for the next 3 years, and work out if we have enough money to do that. If we don't have enough money to do that, then I'll have a chat with our corporate services team to work out how we can potentially fund that. But I think that it would be unfair, I would suggest, that if we've taken money rates to deliver a service and not delivered the service, one wouldn't expect to be paying for the service they'd already paid for again. But I will again have a chat to our corporate services team about that, should that be the situation. Actuals, I'm not sure about the public good rate. I can ask our rating team about that and come back to you. And completely agree that we need to have our land drainage areas mapped. I think that's causing a lot of confusion, both for customers, actually, when they ring and they say we've got a problem, and then there's no map to look at to say, okay, that's in a land drainage area and therefore this is the process, or this is how it goes and this is how it goes to. And I think there's a risk that it goes around and around without any customer satisfaction. That would be very, very helpful if it was mapped to know that that was in it. And then the second part to that, obviously, as an extension, is some understanding and demonstrating where people are connecting, and the flow ultimately ends up in the land drainage area. So two separate things. We've got the land drainage areas that we're all very clear about, what needs to be done, or that it hasn't been done and it needs some work, but the other contributors that are ending up in those land drainage areas, and how we might be able to deal with that and ensure that everybody is paying their fair share of that towards that system. I do have an additional resource. I've had some work done in my group recently. Sorry, no, I don't have them. Sorry, I don't mean to excite you like that, Chair Gardner. But the ad will be out on the 30th of September, so 2 weeks yesterday, and that ad will go up. So we'll hopefully get somebody in that role as a dedicated resource that will be able to have a look at the land drainage. Those were the main bits that I took down with responses to. Not sure if there's anything else.
Is it, for me, and I'm sure that Fiona's brought it up, is the management plans. We need to advance those. Is there anyone that can help pick up where the previous person who was working on them and advance those? Because they're not far off from being probably complete. They just need some further input into the plan, don't they? Because we've already workshopped that about 3 years ago. With the, yeah.
We workshopped it with Troy Smith before he left the council. I have all the drafts. I actually do have the plans as well for the boundaries of the drainage areas, and I'm happy to work with someone because I've actually come to the realisation that even though drainage has been in the council for umpteen years, way back in 2005, when we had a memorandum of understanding between NRC and FNDC, and transferred parts of the scheme to them, that the actual council staff aren't aware of all of these changes. So I'm happy to work with them. I think it's important that we actually get the idea of the bylaw and understanding, and a letter out to drainage ratepayers understanding clearly what the contractor is responsible for, what the landowners are, and what FNDC is, because there's quite a confusion now of people thinking a lot of drains are part of the scheme when they're not, and they're ringing up RFSs, etc., asking for them to be dealt with, and we really only deal with the actual county drains themselves. But we administer the land that has the ability to drain into that drain, which is where the confusion is coming from. When people see they're paying land drainage rates, they're expecting service on their doorstep.
Yes, I don't have to jump this one down. So, Brian, you're actually going to talk about the bylaw section of it as well to this board. So,
Roger's got his hand up, Madam Chair.
Oh, okay.
If people, is someone there that's able, in the staff, able to let Adele know what's happening online?
Yeah, sure. Through the chair, I just thought I'd just come in here on the bylaw. I think Brian's probably going to talk this anyway. Just so you're aware, we're on a 5-year review timetable for this bylaw. So, and that timetable is to have the review done by 7th of October. However, I want to point out that doesn't mean the bylaw will revoke or lapse. The bylaw is still effective for another 2 years beyond that period of time.
Oh,
so
okay.
Yeah, so we still have a bylaw in place, and we will have, even if we don't get through the review by the 7th of October. And this bylaw is now on an extraordinary meeting next week to go through its review. And Brian can talk to the review, what that means. But we still have a bylaw, and it won't be gone and it won't disappear on the 7th of October. So I just want to clarify that. But I think we had to Brian talk to the detail around that bylaw.
So if the bylaw is under review and is due in October, and the board has delegation for drainage, why haven't we seen the revised?
It'll come through at the next meeting. Will it come through at the October meeting, the actual bylaw?
Well, I feel like Brian have a talk to that about what the plan is.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Roger, for that. So yes, that was my first point, is that it is just due for review in October. Okay, and so what a review means when it comes to bylaws under the Local Government Act is not the same as the common interpretation of a review. So we have some certain bits that we have to adhere to when we undertake that review. And the very first question is basically answering, should there be a bylaw? And so that's the first step. And so that's the report that's going up to council and at the extraordinary meeting is to answer that first question of should there even be a bylaw? And so,
isn't it?
If you don't have a bylaw, what else are you suggesting?
That's it. So the report will be recommending that we do need to keep a bylaw. And so that's what staff will be recommending to council, is that yes, we should have a bylaw. And then following that, so what we have identified that there are some things in the bylaw that need to be amended. So for example, the schedules is one of them, that we need to have clear schedules that clearly identify in the maps, and that they need to be part of the bylaw as you've brought up. And so we will be recommending to continue the bylaw with amendment. And then so following that decision, we'll be able to undertake significant engagement as much as it takes, as long as it takes. There's no time limit to however long it takes us to engage with the land drainage boards and the community board and identify what really does need to be in that bylaw and to draft up any amendments. And so that's the next stage.
Then if there is any issues that require the bylaw to be enforced now, we carry on with the old rules and enforce them.
Yes, that's correct.
Oh, that's good. That was one of my questions, and thank you for explaining that. Yeah.
Just through the chair, just to clarify, just to absolutely clarify that. So what we're putting up is us ticking the box, so to speak, that a review has been completed on the bylaw. And once we get that done for the 7th of October, then the bylaw is still in play, still effective, and we can keep moving forward. If we don't hit that date, then what we're effectively doing is creating a new bylaw, and that's on a 5-year review timetable. So it's not. It's us ensuring that if we got challenged on our processes around how we manage our bylaws, that we can demonstrate that we've done a review, and the review report is actually attached to the bylaw. The review report's attached to the council paper that's going to be going up to the extraordinary council meeting. I hope I've explained that okay. Yeah.
So are you saying that the existing bylaw is there now till October, and you then you go into a review, but it means that you rewrite a new bylaw rather than follow the old one?
Only if we don't do it by October. If we do it before October, the current bylaw is always going to be there anyway until 2 years from that date. If we don't hit the review timetable, if we hit the review time frame, then the current bylaw is effective for another 10 years beyond that. But we can also go through and do a review and update the bylaw anyway, so that we're open to doing that update and change. And the recommendation is to amend it anyway.
Okay. That's good.
So I just want to cover off that we're still going to have a bylaw in place.
Yeah, thank you. But if you say the recommendation is to amend it, does that mean so you're going to write a new bylaw?
Continue and with amendments.
Do you want to talk to that, Brian, how that's going to work?
So just to clarify there, so the bylaw, the existing bylaw will stay in place until council replaces it with a new bylaw. So drafting up those amendments and going through that engagement and then going out for formal consultation and all of those sorts of things, the existing bylaw stays in place until that whole process is finished, and we've got the final report that goes up to council, and council says, yes, we're happy with these amendments, yes, we're happy that engagement and consultation has been done properly, so yes, we're happy to adopt the amended bylaw. So the existing one stays in place right up until then, and that could take us a couple of years because it depends on how much engagement we need to do, and it's all up to the community. So I think with this one though, I feel, and I don't know, but I feel like the land drainage boards are all wanting the same things, and so that would, that would make the process a lot quicker, and we'll be able to draft those amendments quite quickly and put up an amended bylaw for consultation.
Okay, so you are aware that this land drainage bylaw is only in the Te Hiku ward, no other ward?
Correct.
Of FNDC?
Yeah, it's got four areas it's currently managing, four land drainage areas.
Thank you. So we've got Felicity online who would like to have to speak to this. Felicity.
Thank you. I put my comments in the chat, but I don't think the staff have read them out to you. But just to give that narrative, there were 3 points that I've contextualised there. One of those points is about meeting with the Kaipara Council, and that was some time ago with the consultant planner, Martel Leshika, regarding the term used was global consents with the Northern Regional Council and the Whangarei Council. Also as well, I think this would be pertinent to the compliance issue, and that's and you know, or the word enforcement issue. I see that we've got Kevin online. The second point that I've raised there is about the open resolutions in the community board agenda, and they're still there if you want to reference them. About asking Kevin to come to our board for the last 2 years, so it's great to see him here today. And I'd love to hear from him about enforcement and compliance for the bylaw and how that will work to be enforced over the next 2 years using the current wording. And the third point there was about the area of benefit maps. So the maps in the schedule are of the actual drains that are maintained, so the drainage channels themselves. But the bylaw refers to the area of benefit. So essentially people that pay the land drainage rates in the area of benefit for rating. And that map there wasn't attached to the schedules as well. And that map was given to Esther as acting manager last week. And essentially what is the difference between having a land drainage area of benefit and where the land drainage bylaw applies to all the other areas of the district that are outside of that, you know, would be a civil matter that wouldn't relate to the bylaw themselves. So I can see Kevin's there. One example that I had was historically in Kumi Road, there was a gentleman that filled in the drains there with old cars, so multiple cars. And what Northern Regional Council did is they got in a digger, removed the cars. Obviously, they gave that person notice, etc., before they went and did that, and then that person was liable for the costs. But I'm not sure what our council does in terms of enforcement, because I haven't seen any responses to that nature in the way that Northern Regional Council does their work. So it would be great to hear about the bylaw enforcement, the use of diggers to remove obstructions, and how council will be using unwarranted officers in that nature to ensure this bylaw becomes reality.
I think it's fair to say that they have started. A chap called Ken Ward and Joe Tua have been out to at least one property and had a...
I agree with Cheryl that they actually in the last 3 or 4 weeks have been to 3 properties, but I was concerned when I read in the council agenda where there was only, I think it was 6 RFSs in 4 years, the other way around. There's something wrong within council's RFS system. If they're not getting to you, and I know myself, I've put in more than 6 in the last year from phone calls from drainage ratepayers, and I don't know where they have gone or if they're not getting to Kevin's team.
They're obviously not getting there because
So
they haven't seen.
I think the council needs to look at what codes do you have in the RFS system that you can differentiate between stormwater and land drainage and road drains, because the ones that I've followed up on have gone to a road drain, and then I've made them put it back to land drainage. But even though Joe Tua and Ken Ward have been out there, that's good, but it's okay. They have looked at the issue. and now it's what happens next, because it seems to stop there. It's where do we go forward from that? So we've got Kevin online. He's going to come in and talk to us. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you. Yeah, well, there's a lot of ground there, and I've got some reassurance to offer, but also some words of caution. The first thing I think I should say, addressing those issues in order, is that the compliance department consists of 3 bits, and normally it deals with dogs, animal management. It deals with things like kitchens, hygiene, restaurants, alcohol, and the compliance department itself, the enforcement bit, that's Ken Ward and Joe, deals normally with encroachments, boundary disputes, and where things are of a technical nature, it needs people like the resource consent engineers or the building services inspectors to actually give them the right technical knowledge and assistance to go and enforce it. So going forward, that will be exactly the same with the infrastructure branch, and Tanya and I have already done some work on this. I'm not making excuses or being defensive, but you also please need to be clear that drainage is one of the 3 waters, and 3 waters lives in infrastructure. So the compliance enforcement people can only go and enforce the law as warranted officers if they're given the right information and pointed in the right direction, because Ken won't mind me saying this. What he knows about drainage, you could write on the back of a postage stamp. We don't have water engineers or drainage inspectors, and we are very much reliant on that technical expertise. But what I can assure you is this, that where the law has been breached, we will work with the infrastructure department. We're already prepared to do that and enforce it as and when necessary. So when you talked just now, Mrs. King, about only 6 RFSs in 4 years, that is correct. That is what the compliance and enforcement department, I checked it, received. That type of problem and blockage is something that I know Tanya and I and our people have now worked to rectify, and we don't expect to see that going on in the future. So I hope my words can reassure you all, ladies and gentlemen, that we are ready and we are prepared to take enforcement action where and when necessary. But we do need to be correctly set up and pointed in the right direction by people who know what they're looking at. So that's also in hand, and I know that the infrastructure department at the moment, which does unfortunately have some gaps in it, is planning to rectify that too. So that's really all I can say on that. We've come to the party, we're ready to do our thing, and there's no question that we will not neglect our duty. I hope that.
Thank you. I'd actually question whether the
That's a moot point. I mean, I've no objection to that, but I don't have FTE for that. And I have been making this point for over a year. So I have politely made my point and not got involved in that. If a drainage manager or managers are appointed, and I understand that they used to exist, I think we had 2 before the realignment, but perhaps I can see Tanya's got her hand up. She's got something to add to that.
So I'm just going to allow Tanya one last, and then we'll have to move on with our meeting. So Tanya, please address.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just two separate things. I think that where it lives is that it was in, actually it still is in, the 3 waters contract. So it's lived in the, rightly or wrongly, it's lived in the infrastructure group on the basis of it being in the 3 waters contract, operations and maintenance contract with Ventia. If we wanted or needed to remove that, we can at any clause. There'll be some contractual conversations that would need to happen around that. But I think that the biggest issue for all of us is that those 2 things are being confused. So it could live anywhere in this organisation. I think where it lives and the operations and maintenance of it, of the land drainage areas are one issue. The compliance and enforcement of a bylaw, regardless of what their bylaw is a separate issue. And I think we are confusing those two parts. So as Kevin says, we're trying to separate those because they need to be. I need to operate, I need to clean, I need to ensure that those drains are maintained. And then once they are, then the compliance of bylaws, as Kevin just spoke to, is a completely separate issue, and we'll use that legislation and those warrants to ensure compliance of. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Local people giving up their voluntary time to do this that have all just had enough and are not very polite when it comes to describing their relationship in the scheme. So please summarise where to from here.
I see through the chair, Tana's just put a cabbage workshop, Madam Chair. If we can add that in an appropriate place, perhaps.
Perhaps Tanya would like to send us an email with regards to, she can have a think about all this and also the bylaw thing. Maybe they need to meet as a workshop before they go forward with their bylaw and clearly understand the boundaries and the areas and what we actually we have a bit of time to do them for the bylaw.
And last time the bylaw was reviewed, we asked that all the landowners were sent a copy of the bylaw so that they were aware of, any problems that there could be. I personally think by the look of it, Kevin and Tanya are heading in the right direction, and it's reassuring to see that.
So I'm sure that Tanya can talk to that and send us an email about that from here. And we'll be actually meeting up at the drainage district at the meetings next week. No, follow
26th.
So please don't go ahead and get consultants in to try and do timelines and milestones with the regional council until we get this basics right, which is the management plan, which is the bylaw, and get that right before spending any more money, because we've spent, or the council has spent huge amount of money on consultants unnecessarily today. Thank you very much, and thank you for coming into our meeting. I really appreciate your time. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Can I ask a question, please? Yes, Adele. Just kia ora koutou. In the paper we had something about cows swimming. I just want to know, swimming on their farm. I just want to know, is that being addressed? Because we'll probably get asked ourselves.
Oh, that's in the
Motatangi area.
It's full harvest, isn't it?
No, I don't believe anything's been done yet.
Sorry, I'm through the chair. I've just sent you a request because unfortunately I'm late for another meeting. But the swimming cows thing has been investigated and has been dealt with and is underway. In fact, it's one of those examples which I sent out after the last council meeting. I have to be careful because when you send information like that to elected members, and I sent it to the community board chairs later out of professional courtesy because they were in the meeting and I didn't want to exclude them and the subject had been raised. but it was a good example of what is now happening and what Ken and Joe are doing and dealing with, following on from what it is Tanya has just explained. So that's in hand. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Kevin. There's a couple of others that are in the same boat that the guys have gone, Joe and Ken have gone to see, but have not had any response back. Can I get assurances that they will get an answer
Yes,
next?
they will, and what I will say, and this is not a complaint, but we do find this across all fields in delivery and operations, that people are responded to, whether it's parks, whether it's building consents, whether it's resource consents, and then they immediately go and tell elected members and community board members that I haven't heard anything back from the council. And then I look into it and discover that actually they have, because it's a standard procedure for all such people like Ken and Joe when visiting to follow up with the customer and get back to them and tell them what's happening. So that will be done, and that is done. And I appreciate, what you said earlier. I've been listening to all this for 30 years. Personally, I don't think we need a workshop. What we need is to just get on with what it is we are supposed to do, and consequently, the actions would speak louder than words. But if we're having a workshop, that's fine, and happy to bring the compliance department along and contribute to that. But as I said, I don't actually own any water inspectors or engineers. So yeah, I think hopefully I've said enough, because you need to get on with your agenda.
We do. Felicity, one last quick comment, please.
Oh, yep, no, thanks for that response, Kevin. I guess the thing with the compliance area, it was what is the difference between a civil matter and the bylaw? And I think that's the really clear thing that needs to be delineated for Hiku with compliance. And the second aspect for, I don't know if it's Kevin's team or Tanya's team, is who is the contact of the person that decides if there can be changes made to the drains, etc. Because that has been asked for many years from when Andy and Glenn were part of the team, and there's currently, my understanding is nobody. So if that person or that contact can be highlighted, that would be helpful so that people can ask the question and come back to about the bylaw questions. Thanks.
Okay, you can take that offline, and I'm sure that Kevin will be able to send you an email about that. Is that right, Kevin? Thank you. Okay, he's not. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Really appreciate your input.
Right.
We'll continue on with our meeting now. Thank you, Fiona, for bringing this to the forefront. We'll follow up with Kevin, because there are 3 instances at the moment, and they're still waiting for follow-up. I'm not sure if that's in process at that point. Okay.
How come we can't just ask locals to fix it and build back? Because it's not ours.
We have to get on with the meeting now. Sorry.
Right.
Okay. So we'll go to
apologies right at the top.
Yes, an apology. I think everybody is in attendance. The only person that's not is Councillor Coy, who's online, so that's fine. So I'll move that. Do I have a second, please?
Yeah.
All in favour? Thank you. So then 6.1, the confirmation of previous minutes.
Sorry, Madam Chair, was there conflicts of interest? I think it'll be in the supporting document, but I did the website and stuff for that fishing contest, and the website and their promo brochures and things like that. So I better abstain.
And myself, and myself as well for Te Kupi Ngāreo.
Okay, thank you. So did everybody read the minutes?
Madam Chair, did we last meeting discuss about doing a resolution for the pools? We spoke on that in great depth, didn't we, on getting a report about the halls and making a
I was
resolution.
hoping that there'll be one coming to.
There's just nothing in the minutes about it and nothing in the at the back about it.
Oh, okay.
And we went on and on about it, and then we decided we were going to do a resolution about it, and we needed it tracked in our,
in our resolutions page.
But there's nothing in the minutes about even discussing that, and nothing in the resolution.
Okay.
That I can see, but I could be wrong.
Perhaps when we get to the resolutions page, we'll just.
Shouldn't it be noted in the minutes?
Previous minutes.
Yeah.
So we had a note, not a resolution, but a note that that members asked that the financials for halls be discussed before the draft for hall policies is completed.
So how does that go forward?
So that one we were following up with staff first before we brought it to the board.
Yeah. So it's on page 13, members asked here.
But we do need to put it in the resolution thing.
So I've moved the minutes. Who's going to second the minutes, please? Yeah.
Oh, I can.
Okay.
John.
Is there any other notes in here?
No.
All in favour?
No.
Okay. So 7.1, review of the community grant policy. I'd like to move that we leave this to lie on the table so we can actually have a workshop on this policy, because some of the wording in here is a little bit.
Through the chair, can we please discuss it before you move that? Because if you move it, we cannot discuss this.
Oh, okay. So I'll move to leave it to lie on the table.
It's not even on the agenda list.
I just know other contents.
So it's page 14, it was missed in the contents. Page 14.
Do I have a seconder, please?
Yep.
I've moved it to lie on the table. Is there any discussion around this? I myself personally think it needs to be workshopped with all the community boards. There's content within the actual report as well as the policy that I would like to question too, some of the content that's in it.
Through the chair, this was workshopped with you twice, once in the combined community board workshop, which was where we started with this. Then we came back to you and workshopped it individually. We then came back to you with this policy not that long ago and asked for your feedback then, and you said at that stage you didn't have any, or any feedback that was given by all three boards was incorporated in this. So we are concerned that you are feeling you need to workshop it again, given that you have had feedback already on this. So can you please be very clear in what issues you believe there are now that were not discussed when we last workshopped it with you?
Okay, one of the things that concerns me is on page 14 is down the bottom on the last paragraph. River and streamside cleanup and landscaping. So what concerns me with that wee bit is that if people come to our community board meetings with a funding application for river and streamside cleanup, that is an issue simply because some of it's NRC. So anything that's over 3 metres wide for a stream is NRC. So what are we talking about here? So that's one of the things. In the policy, there's a few questions about the policy wording. So assets, explain the asset side. So people wanting to do, I don't know what page it is. So people wanting to do, come with a funding application to put some infrastructure on a council reserve. So you're actually saying in the policy that the funder or the funding people or asking for the funding, are they the ones who are going to have to look after the asset? Because obviously the council doesn't want the asset. So, I mean, it's this sort of thing that I'm a little bit concerned about. So can you explain that, please?
I'm just trying to work out which pages you're looking at on there, because the pages I've got are different numbered for some reason. So when you talk about when you're talking about the Riverside part, which page in your agenda is that?
It's not in the actual policy. It's in the report in our agenda.
Do you have a page number in your actual agenda that we're looking at here? Because you've jumped a little bit. Sorry?
14.
14.
At the bottom.
Okay.
At the bottom.
Last paragraph.
So the Pride of Place Fund. So those were simply examples. They are not items that you must fund. Every application stands on its own. And with things like that, that would also come under the operational side. This is purely giving an example of things that may be funded, not will be funded.
So if you can talk to me about the asset side of things.
Okay, and which page was that?
Where are we? I didn't mark the page actually, but I had thoughts around that. So it must be under the infrastructure, is it?
Page down, what's the number down the bottom? Page number. Of the agenda.
No, it's not on the agenda. So it says also that the community board delegations will need to be updated following the adoption of the new policy. This update will be incorporated into the general review of delegations scheduled to take place later this year.
Interesting.
Yes.
So I've sort of written down the asset, but because when I read through this policy, so can you comment on the actual asset side? If people do a project on council land and council doesn't want to adopt it as an asset in their register, then obviously who's going to look after it after 10 or 20 years when it's forgotten about?
So I need to be very clear, which page are you looking at so I can address the specific?
I just want you to comment on that because it's looking that way within the policy that you are presenting to us.
It's very difficult for me to respond specifically when I'm trying to work out exactly which piece you are trying to query on here. But in terms of assets, a lot of that comes under the operational side, not the policy side. So when we are getting people to apply and they are looking at creating an asset, then when they apply, they need to demonstrate who will be maintaining it, the responsibility for it, what funding has been set aside or what provision has been made. If it is on council property, then council has to provide approval for that, and that includes whether or not they will take it into the asset register. So when the application comes to the board, at that point, you would have all of that in writing, that who will be responsible for the ongoing maintenance, that they have approval for the asset to be constructed where it is being constructed, and who will be responsible for it going forward. That comes under the operational side, not the policy side for this.
That's what I wanted to know. That's one of the things.
Through the chair, can I just draw your attention to section 1, policy 8. It says, if a proposal creates new council assets with ongoing operational costs, the grant approval is subject to the council budget holder agreeing in writing to fund these ongoing costs.
Well, I don't know.
In the policy, that what Catherine was talking about and having to provide in writing that ongoing costs will be covered is included in the policy itself.
So another one is too, who's going to do the audits? Who does the audits? It comes up quite a bit within the policy.
Catherine, I think you could answer that about the auditing.
Who was that aimed at, Lizzie?
All successful applications may be subject to an audit.
Catherine, are you able to answer that question?
So the phrasing is may be subject to audit. What we have found with finance each year, when we get the auditors in, they are going through some of our funding applications to make sure that they meet all of the criteria. So that's part of where that comes in. Also, if it is an asset on council property, then the asset managers would be the ones doing any of those audits. The community board also has the opportunity to request follow-up on anything if they wish to do so.
So we don't have an infrastructure grant fund, so that would come under placemaking, would it, or not? I don't know.
The infrastructure grant fund will lapse. It no longer exists, so it comes out of the policy. That's in the existing policy, and that's why it will be coming out.
Good.
And I see Councillor Foy has her hand up as well.
We don't see anybody up there. Madam Chair, at what time will people want to leave? Because we should deal with the funding applications first. Yeah. And maybe if we have to reconvene the meeting, the rest of the meeting, we need to do that.
Okay.
Got Jason as well. Yeah. He might need to come later too.
Well, as long as you've got a quarter to, we'll be fine.
I was hoping to leave at 1:45 so I could make the service at kids.
Yeah.
I'm staying here.
Do you want us to leave this to lie on the table till next month? We can discuss.
Look, I don't actually care how we deal with it, but what I'm saying is there's limited time.
Yeah.
People want to go to the funeral, so funding applicants will want an answer, so we should deal with them, and then anything else we can deal with. I mean, we could just reconvene online later in the day or something, whatever. I don't know.
Okay. At the moment, we'll just leave this live for...
Yeah, just don't deal with it until we've done the funding applications.
How does everyone else feel about this application, this paper? So Felicity, you had a question on this?
Oh yeah, I'm happy to answer my questions later. If this
Okay,
is
then
on
we'll
the
come
table,
back
not a
to you.
problem.
We'll come back to this paper later. Okay. So we'll go on to 7.2, which is funding applications. We have 4 in total. You've heard from 3 of the people this morning. So the first one up is the, I will do them separately. It's the Doubtless Bay fishing competition. 2025. Do I have a mover, please?
Darren.
Second down.
Yep.
Is there any discussion on this one?
No, I think Hilda brought up a good point of, trying to make it more sustainable rather than just relying.
Yes, I think so too. Thank you.
Yeah.
That was good discussion. Everyone happy with this? Yeah. All in favour?
Aye.
Thank you.
Abstain.
Graham Dingle Foundation for $3,000. Now he did, this is just mainly for, so do I have a mover, please?
Yeah, I'll move it.
Yeah, seconder.
I'll second it.
So this is for mileage, so is everyone happy to?
Yes, because mileage is very expensive, and I see in schools from Kaio to Te Hapua. We didn't used to fund it, but then petrol didn't used to be as dear as it is now.
To give volunteers to the ground.
Yeah.
I think we helped this. I think Catherine might be able to tell me, but I'm sure we helped them last year.
We've
done ground dingle before.
Through the chair, yes, we did, and they have also gone to the other community boards for activities in their wards as well. So this is specifically for activities happening in your ward and your tamariki and rangatahi.
No, they need it.
So there was $3,000 last year. So
I wonder if we should just add in the Te Hiku ward, or do you think it's self-explanatory?
Through the chair, this application is specifically for Te Hiku ward, and they made sure that the schools that they applied for were in your ward and not outside of it.
I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy.
all in favour?
Aye.
Thank you. We got the SMC event for $2,000 for the
kids love this. I'll move it.
Yeah. They are actually in the application. They applied for a lot more.
They applied for 5,000.
And I'm not quite sure how it got cut down to 2, but
in previous, you've funded them the past 3 years. You did 5,000, then 4,000, then 3,000. You were doing it on a sliding scale, and so I just followed that on.
Oh, okay.
I move the 2,000 if I can.
Yeah,
So I'm taking the shell language.
Oh, okay, I'll second it. I'd like, Catherine, when you give them the news, if we all agree, yeah, I'd love to see in the report that there was more than, if they can try to extend the attendance up towards 800 would be awesome.
Yes.
I don't know how they do that, but then I don't know whether.
They said 400 they want to get it up to, because they only had 140 last time from up here.
But they're saying, and the one in Koikoi last year had 800, 780 or something, and it'd be great to see our schools participate a little bit better. But I'm sure there's other challenges with schools and travel and everything else.
Yeah.
Why don't we say 3,000 and get more people?
Get them to go to school's a challenge. I don't think that's their problem, Rachel. I think
it's getting the school.
Yeah, it's getting the school there.
Through the chair, they are working with Sport Northland, and it tends to be Sport Northland that decides the schools and does the promotion. SMC purely runs the event once Sport Northland have made that determination.
Okay, is there a way that we can ask Sport Northland to sort of see if they can get as many kids as possible?
I can pass the feedback on, and obviously they do want as many children to participate as possible. That's, I think, as far as we can go.
Thank you, through the chair, Catherine, can you remember that the speaker on this actually mentioned the person's name in Sports Northland that they were talking to?
I'm sorry, I didn't make a note of it, but I can ask Craig. It was Craig that was speaking, but I can ask.
Okay. Thank you.
All in favour?
Aye.
Thank you. So the next one is
In
Through the
favour.
chair, can I just check, was that 3,000 or 2,000 that you decided to grant them? Two, thank you.
Next one is the Hiku Rio. Did I say that right? $1,000. I have a mover.
Aaron will move that.
Thank you. Seconder.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
I want to speak to this one. I had been contacted, I don't think they spoke this morning, but I have been contacted from the organisers of this event about funding for the audio for the event. The audio wasn't part of the application because this is just for the Te Ahu hire, but the person who was going to fund the audio has not, has fallen through. How does that work with the board if they haven't actually applied for the audio?
It's not part of the application, I'm afraid, Councillor Hoy. So we'll be just granting the $1,000 for the.
So we can't add on. Okay, I was just checking what the process was. Not a problem.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. All in favour?
Aye.
In favour.
So we'll just quickly move to the project funding reports.
Move.
Second.
The Kaitawa Business Association, I'd like to leave you on the table. We're still dealing with that association to gather all the invoices together to match up with the finances or the numbers. So I'll leave that one to line the table. Is everyone happy with that?
Yeah.
And through the chair, following your queries, I did follow up and they hope to be able to send that through by the end of this week. So it should come through for your next community board meeting.
Yes, that'll be great. Yes, I've been dealing with Andrea.
So you've got a bit sorted out.
We'll see. Thank you. So all the other clubs or project reports, everyone is happy with? Yeah. So all in favour?
Right.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, what are we going to have a workshop on? I've forgotten.
Drainage.
No.
Today.
Today? No, we haven't decided anything about that yet. No. Okay. Somebody was put off. Oh, was it Ken?
Yes. Through the chair, so Ken actually didn't acknowledge cancellation to schedule. He's physically here. And Felicity said that she could stay on in the other members after second HL. And Ken's not able to come.
How many people are leaving?
Well, I'm not going to make the church, so are you going to, Rachel?
on the stormwater drain. They were leaving them open by the playground in Aonui. I pulled it across and that was fine, but then I realized it's the people service organisation is doing the mowing. The tractors are pulling the what do you call it, the covers off the holes, creating a gap about yay big, which is just perfect for a young kid to break his leg. But I'll follow that up with an RFS. It's just something I didn't realise. And I checked it this morning, and the lawns were done, and the grate was open again.
Oh God.
Yeah, they've got a nibbing around the outside, but that's crushed, so it can just a traction of the mowers. Yeah, pretty dangerous, I thought. But otherwise, thank you, Madam Chair. That's me.
Okay, thank you, John. Member Stewart.
Oh, yeah, take mine as read. I haven't had any new. I had a member of the public call me to say thank you, Bev, for the work down Wireless Road is going to be. He's had someone visit, and it's going to be done in the next few weeks, apparently, which is all the drains down there. So that was an ongoing RFS that's probably been there since May last year. Can I ask a question regarding the report around, I think someone asked this through email, you know, the reporting of the expenses there for the 3 members heading to Wellington, is that common? I know it's all public knowledge, and if you want to find it, it's there. But I mean, with the councillors that travel, is that in the minutes of their agendas? No, I didn't think so.
And the community board ones. Yeah.
When I did, through the chair, when I did that report, I mirrored a previous report that was done a few years ago. I thought that was the process to do, and I checked it with our democracy service team, and yes, it's supposed to be in the reports as per policy.
I know that.
Well, let's see them in all the council ones from now on, please.
Yeah. We're transparent as community board members. I would like to see the councillors transparent as well around their transport and accommodation and meals, etc. as well. Thank you.
Point, Jill.
John, is there any further?
Sorry, I'm just trying to find my report. No.
Page 103.
Yeah, no, I did find it. I was just checking on a few things. We had an all-day CBEC meeting on Thursday last week, so online, and it was basically discussing the conference, going over reports like what you guys have just we've done as a group. Thank you, Cheryl, and thank you, Rachel and Adele. But of course, from a CBEC level, part of the job was to actually bring the community board conference in alignment with the LGNZ one, and then pick the brains out of what went wrong and what went right. So we've all been discussing that, and of course, Adele, one of your you weren't the only one to bring up the lack of information around on the awards. Yeah, so that's been, but it's going to be an ongoing process to get it right. And of course, it's not every year with the community boards. So, but logistically, it was actually a success having both them together around. It'll be a central place. It should cost less to attend as such, and I thought it was quite good. But I feel that the community board, at community board level, they should be invited to all of the workshops, and you pick and choose what you want to go to.
Yeah.
And I think that was also something they want to build on for the future.
Good idea. There's more than one way to skin a cat, eh?
Yeah.
So that's me. Thank you.
two RFSs I put in, and we've kind of both been sort of discarded, and they're both health and safety concerns. One outside the Hauhora Church, we've got potholes that are in some cases this deep and as long as this table, and there's 8 or 9 potholes that size. No one can decide on who actually owns that bit of ground, whether it's NZTA or Northern Regional Council or us. We've done this 3 or 4 times, and it's just been referred again back to NZTA, and will be referred back to us, and it will disappear. And the Hauhora speed limit, the speed limit on the Hauhora Heads Road is currently at 100 kilometres an hour. And you know, we've put a walking track right beside a road that's got 100 kilometre speed limit an hour. And there's been several nasty accidents on that road lately. We've got no police at the moment. Sorry, he started yesterday, the new one. So for 4 months, we've had drag racing up and down that road every night of the week. And this is just comes back in here. It's not scheduled for any speed limit review, no matter what the danger. So you start wondering why you're doing the RFS in the first place. But I'll keep doing it. So that's just what I've got to say about it. It is frustrating.
So member Bainbridge.
Yeah, take it as read.
Oh, sorry, Rachel.
No, sorry, Rachel.
I just.
Okay. The answer to this community, Eric Wagner came and talked to us about concerns, and the answer is the district plan is following a process that now sits with commissioners and is outside our control. That's not good enough. What we need is for somebody to actually listen to what Eric and his group are saying and take some action. So I want to see an answer that's a lot better than that, please.
So I'm one of the commissioners on the panel. Legally, I can't take into account anything that does not have a submission to the district plan because he did the deputation to the community board and didn't make a formal submission. That means it's outside of the process and legally I can't take it into account. So if next time, maybe instead of Eric doing a deputation to the community board, he could do a formal submission to the district plan. And then I could take it into account, yeah.
Fiona, is there any way you could give him a ring and explain to him what you just explained to us? Because you do that straight away.
He's too late. The original submissions were 2 years ago.
So does that mean then that they can't actually do anything about something that is clearly an issue for their community?
Well, he could tag on to other people that have made a submission. So if other people, we've already had the original submissions and then also the further submission. So he could tag on to someone else who's already made a submission and could speak to that as part of that group. So he could use that process.
Okay, so if that's more helpful, if he could use that process, can he please be told that he can use that process so that he can be, so that his concerns, which are genuine, the way the place is going, can be considered?
Yeah, I just don't know who else has made submissions that are similar to his. But yes, that would be helpful of the staff to highlight that as an opportunity. Yeah.
So have you got that sort of... Who's the best person to do that?
Probably Darren, but you could move Darren to get, yeah.
If we could get something on paper, you know, and I can hand it to Eric at any rate.
But then you also wrote to the mayor and he's never been responding.
No, I got a phone call back in the end.
He did?
Yeah.
But has he been told what Felicity just said?
No.
Yeah,
because he wouldn't have done that.
We could just ask someone in Roger's team to basically say what I just said to him. I'm not a member of staff. Really, they should be taking things.
Yeah.
That would be great. Yeah, just pass it on to Roger's team. Thanks.
Okay. I think it would be the beginning.
I'm just through the chair. It's just Briar here from Roger's team. We have received that notice and we'll pass it on to the district plan team.
Who will do that?
So that was Ryan from Rogers Tech.
Okay.
That picked it up.
Okay, just as long as he gets that information as smartly as possible, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, you can take one as read. Yeah, just a few online Zoom meetings with other community on physical security and safety and things like that. And of course the conference, which is in our report we put. I think it was beneficial, especially for someone who's not been before. But then there's probably lots of things that, maybe we just a little bit watching, but definitely worthwhile going and taking it all in. But yeah, we put all that in our report, which is pretty cool. Yeah, other than that, that was read. Thank you. It hasn't been accepted as a charter school for 2024, but maybe for 2026. So that issue is going to be a major issue for Kaitaia in its ability to attract working people who are not an alternative to Kaitaia College. It's going to be a major problem, I reckon.
Yeah.
Well, the word on the street that I get from professional people who are looking at moving in great numbers to take their kids to different schools. And I speak to lots of them.
Okay. It's not really council business, but yeah.
But it's a community.
It's a community business.
Yeah.
Councillor Hockyard.
Good, Tato. Just got a few things to let you all know. Just me to Des Mahoney, who had his funeral the other day. No, he wasn't. I enjoyed it, working with him. Say that. And the work that came out of decommissioning Cody Dam. To let you know too, I've sent you all a Facebook post that came to me was about Moriai this Sunday. There's a 6 a.m. post dinner happening, and that's on your emails. The airport, we're looking forward to some sort of resolution within the next month, where there'll be maybe a crown transfer of lands. Yeah, kia ora. Yeah.
Better have that new plane running on something. Barrier area got a new plane.
Yes. You can. There's the same amount of seats, and you know. Yeah. So hopefully that will be some sort of resolution, but it will come down to the council paying what they've asked for to get it over the line is to pay a 30-year lease fee up front. And those details are to be worked out, but that's where that one's at. And also, as of July the 1st, we've got now new roading contracts. We have left the Northern Transport Alliance, which you probably all know. And Fulton Hogan are dealing with all the roading issues from in Te Hiku, from the north. And I think Benty are doing those in the south. So there's a whole new sort of reporting format which you can see online in the COCO infrastructure thing where they tell you, or especially Fulton Hogan, I like their reports because they've got big print. They tell you all the roads, culverts.
Yes, yeah, we get that report.
Oh, good.
Yeah, Bev sent it to us.
Also to let you know, there is going to be a hikoi from the Cape to Parliament. Details are to come out soon to arrive in Wellington before the deletion of the Treaty Principles Bill. So I don't know the full details yet, but that will be happening, and it will be a very fast hikoi. And that's about it. Kia ora.
Thank you so much. Councillor Boyd, have you got anything to report?
Just on the infrastructure matters for Kaitaia, the airport was definitely one, so that's really positive that we're almost there. And And thank you to Hilda for all of her work in that space, as well as Councillor Kleskovic. So really important to get our stakeholders working together. Further to that, we had the Minister of Finance come to Kaitaia, and she flew into the airport, which was great for her to see firsthand. And also understand that the central government funding is still there, which is just over $5 million from central government. And also, I think the point that really needed to be made clear to central government is the operational funding that Councillor Hilda Harawira has brought up as well. So that's the matter that hasn't been addressed. Only the capital aspect's been addressed. The other aspect was for the gorge. We visited the gorge with the minister, and that is all on track to be opened before Christmas. So that's all on track, which is positive. And in terms of our Kaitaia sewage, that was on the agenda for council, and that is to be upgraded for the Donald Road area. And the staff in Tanya's team are going to give us a map that shows the 5 zones of Kaitaia sewage, so that we can pass that on to the board, so that you have that for your knowledge as well, because there's some areas of Kaitaia that have more capacity for connection than other areas, and there's also areas that are higher risk for stormwater intrusion as well. So I'm not sure where those areas are or aren't until we get given that map, and we'll pass it on. And just lastly, for that roading contract matter that was brought up, and thank you to member John Stewart about Wireless Road, there's a lot of the historic issues that haven't been addressed until now that we've changed outside of the NTA. So what I've been encouraging is those longer term issues, such as the water table drains here on Wireless Road, to be brought up again and a new RFS raised, or actually just lodge it again with the RFS number, because the way that we're addressing roading is different now under this new management. So it's great to see progress in that space. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All in favour? Thank you.
Just quickly through the chair, I'll have more information on
The place name and my new platform next time.
Okay, that's all right. I'll cross that off my list.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye. Thank you. So we're just on the last one, and you will close the meeting.
Well, no, we've got to think about this community grants fund.
Well, we'll do that after we've had
Okay. All right.
So I'll quickly, I'll move into the open resolution report. Do you have a second, please?
There.
Is there anything on here that we need to discuss? We've already discussed the drain, so we'll just leave it there.
Yeah. Is there anything we need to add from the I'd actually like a comment from Fiona on the
Well, it's work in progress on drainage thing, so we've got a lot
it
of
wasn't that drainage, it was Kaitaia drainage. Yes. In terms of our submission to the council's long-term plan, we still haven't had a satisfactory response to the issues we've raised, and they were largely ignored as far as I can see. But the operational budget and timelines for maintenance of the channels, culverts and floodgates in Kaitaia, I just want to keep an eye on that going forward, because it's a year budget. Yeah. Okay, and the other thing is we have got some money in our reserves account which I would like to know what the status of that is, please.
Yes, and we're working on a project that will hopefully come to the board in the next couple of months, and I'm hoping that perhaps we could have some funds from that account.
It would be good, and good to know exactly what that, so that the ratepayers know what the fund was, that it's not actual ratepayer money, and what it can be used for. Also, another thing that I heard last thing, Kaitoa Cemetery's running out of room.
Yes, well, that's been highlighted.
Yeah, I know it's been highlighted, but we are the board members of this delegation, so it'd be handy to know what's going on.
And we do have adequate sites.
No, we haven't really. For future years, we don't have. Yeah. I know we were given some numbers. Yeah.
Okay, and just, the last thing I don't know, the government's setting a new direction of back to basics, and I'd just like to be assured that the council has taken it on board and acting accordingly.
Do you need more further discussion on this?
I know we discussed it some time ago about the notice of motion on the Waterfront campaign, that should stay on. Seeing as we have a funding, do you want that to still stay on, or?
No, they can come to us again if they want to do something.
So would you like to know that?
There's been an update. We consider the item remain on the report or to be removed. So,
well, it just seems to be working the way it is. So I guess if they have any problems, they'll get in touch with us.
Okay, so we can remove that item.
I would say.
Okay, so we'll remove that item. Thank you. All in favour?
Right.
Thank you. So we'll just adjourn the meeting now and invite Jason from Final Commons. I'm sorry that it's taken so long to get to you, Jason. We had an extra longer session in the speaker side and that we had to resolve. So I'm so sorry that it's taken so long. But anyway, welcome to our table to discuss further future
in terms of updates
on what's happening with the LPAC and Save site and the plan here.
So I suppose just stepping back for a moment, obviously the master plan was done 18 months ago, and so everything that's been going on has been tracking alongside that master plan. So we haven't deviated from what we, I suppose, outlined in that plan. A traffic management or traffic parking study was carried out at the request of myself, but also the community board. And so I suppose what it does is just reinforces that the master plan took into account the sufficient number of car parks that Kaitoa had, and that was validated by the Hay Workman parking report. So at the moment, Kaitoa has about 800 car parking available spaces around town. Obviously, they're made up of the car parks that you see, but they're also made up of parking on the road side that you can do both on Matthews and Bucky Ave, and also Bank Street and Empire Street and Free Street. So it shows what it shows is that master plan, once it's fully developed, has sufficient car parking. However, subject to the development of certain sites, i.e., a warehouse and a site, the old Pack and Save site, and any other sites in town that were identified within that master plan also has considerably car parking measures put in place. So what you'll see in that master plan is that there was 2 additional areas of car parking. So as the master plan progresses over a period of time, then there will be a point in time of where areas that are identified need to be repurposed for parking. So parking is required at the moment, but it's probably about 5 years.
We're yet to get that car parking plan that Hay Workman did, and I'm working with Andrea now to bring that back to our board so that we can adopt that piece of that document. So,
no, that can be adopted formally. Then what it means is your master plan, your retail strategy, and your car park plan is all adopted. So.
Can I just ask, is this meant for public for this discussion or?
No, we've adjourned the meeting.
Oh, yeah, it's still live.
Ali, can we please just pause the live stream?
Yes, please. table, but
Catherine, I felt answered the questions. It's just a policy when it's getting done. If we don't like it, we can go against it.
14 days.
has everybody read the policy, the new one? Yeah.
Now,
Is there any other discussion on it?
do you feel your questions were answered?
Well, yeah, pretty much, but I just, yeah.
Did that policy cover off the, how often the applications will be?
That would be operational, not covered under the policy. That is operations and is outside of the scope of the policy.
That means even enough for us.
The other thing is around the project reporting is 2 months. Well, a lot of them, when they go to apply a year later, haven't done the report and have to get the report in before they can access the funding. So that is a bit of a concern for me. I don't know about the other members.
Not for me, as long as they put it in. Because sometimes they don't have their event for a long time.
Yeah, but they can. Yeah. So, Felicity, you had a question?
Thank you. In terms of this policy, it talks a lot about community facilities, etc., and also council reserves. I had a question about operations and how that will interrelate with this policy, or these proposed policies. I guess maybe it's a question for, I don't know if it'll be a Catherine question or one of the other policy staff. Council has reserves planners that give comments about, people wanting to do things on reserves or in proximity to reserves. But there isn't a policy that says how the community board has weighting or input into that. It just seems that the council reserves planner just decides on their own and there's no input from the community board or which is a delegation of our board. So I just wanted to get feedback from staff about how that works and how that can interrelate with these 3 policies.
Someone keeps muting me, sorry. For clarification, Councillor Foy, are you asking how funding applications will relate to use of reserves? I'm just trying to be clear on exactly what you're asking in relation to this.
No, for example, council's community board has a delegation for council reserves, and the council's reserves planner, operational reserves planner, makes the decisions on, on whether that asset could be in the reserve, etc.
So through the chair, that's not done through the reserve planner. That's actually done through the facilities team, who are the ones who manage the reserves. What we're working on is making sure that when funders make applications on the application form, that they have spoken to everyone that they need to talk to within council in terms of making sure they've got the permissions for what they want to do on there, and that council will also, if that's the situation, take over the management of the asset once it's constructed. In terms of the use of reserves, that would be outside of the scope of this. It would be a separate policy. And I would be very wary about making any comments about something that's outside of this.
Yeah,
and I can see that Aisha has her hand up as well.
Yeah, I didn't really think my question was a Catherine question. I think it was more of a question that Bride's team would answer because it interrelates with the regulatory team. But a frustration of mine is that operational staff are making decisions about setbacks of structures to reserves or, what can happen with the reserves when actually the delegation is with council. With the community board, through the council. So I think that is an error in process currently, operationally. in my view. And so it's not specifically mentioned in these funding policies, but I did want to table that with the policy team to get a response, please.
Through you, Madam Chair, thank you, Councillor Foy, for raising it. I'm not sure if Lizzie's still online, but we can make a note.
She has come back online and her hand is up.
Yeah, but I think, given it, I'm not sure, Councillor Foy, whether or not the response would impact your vote on whether or not you support the proposed policy changes, but we are looking at how we operationalise the community boards delegations to make them more effective and how we operationally support the boards.
Hey, Aisha, sorry, this is not directly concerned with what we're talking about, but I was appointed on the museum committee because a couple of terms ago it was one of the community board delegations, but it's not mentioned anywhere in the delegations now, and I don't think I was reappointed, I just kept on going. Can you look into where we are with museums? Whether it's still a community board thing to be on the committee or not?
Yep, we can look into that.
Thank you. It'll be at the beginning of the last term, I would think, not this one. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for that response, Aisha. And the same thing would apply to halls as well. A member Brainbridge has brought up about museums, but the same thing would be I'd ask that same question about the delegation of halls to community boards. An example is I've raised an RFS about the Awanui Hall. The operational staff have gone in and said, it needs all this work, but there's no money. But there's no report back to our board about that or to the, council about that, when really that's the decision for us. And I'm not sure operationally for health and safety what we can do to fix things. So I think it's just a disconnect between operations. You're right, it doesn't specifically relate to this policy, but I'm just using it as an opportunity to bring it up. Thanks.
Yeah, I've got a note of that.
So the policy that we're actually adopting is on page 33, and it's 1 of 4. Is that the one that because the other one is a research report and the other one is the community grant policy 2018. So the actual one that we're adopting is on 1 to 4 on page 33 of our agenda, is that right?
Yes,
Looks like it.
It's Lizzie Graham here. I'm the policy advisor that put this together, and that is right. What we're asking for is like endorsement to revoke the old policy, which is that 2018 one, and to adopt the new policy, which starts on page 33.
Right, so is everybody happy with the that new policy?
Yeah, no problems.
Yeah. So in the pride of place fund, the policy for number 1, is everyone happy with that, the way that it's been written?
Well, where it said can, maybe it could say name or could.
Demonstrate. Why can't we just have bullet point 3, demonstrate that they have actively involved the local community, because that would include Tangata Whenua, I would have thought.
So just for clarification, are the board wanting to seek an amendment to the policy?
Yeah, I think so. Why do we need to involve them?
Ask what one, sorry, you're talking about? Is that the number 3, the bullet point under the pride
Number
of place?
2.
Number 2 and number 1.
1 and 2, yeah.
I can give some context about why Tangata Whenua is listed there. That was actually a suggestion from the Bay of Islands Community Board. They wanted that specifically in there. just to give some extra context.
Oh, well, perhaps put it in there, please. Well, we're either all a community or we're not, as far as I'm
Either we're a community altogether or we're not. I mean, we're just, there's no division there as far as I'm
No,
concerned.
me too.
I'd like to see that last bullet point taken out on one. Is that? Oh, no, it's
No,
third bullet point. And the
just remove
third
kind of
bullet
error.
point taken out of number 2.
Anyway,
We seem to be dividing.
yeah, it's divisive.
Yeah.
What we can do is we can take your request under advisement. It will be up to council to make the final decision on whether they include or don't include that phrase.
Okay, well, as long as you make it clear to them that we think we're one community as a whole, thank you. Otherwise, I'm prepared to move it.
Yeah, I'll second it.
And Bill,
I'm prepared to move it and apart from those 2 bullets.
Yeah,
that
me
need to
too.
come out, please.
So I can change the wording. We had already moved earlier to leave the reports online until the October meeting.
Did you rather?
oh, I didn't realise it was till October, but we can do it now. Do it
It's
now.
agreed. Yeah.
Done. You don't have to worry about it. In October, I want to see a whole lot of
Okay.
reports.
Without those 2 bullet points and these, we can.
Just a question, Beth. Is policy and policy alignment and changes, is the division, not the division, but the mention of tongue depending on community, are they being?
Because otherwise, if we leave those 2 bullet points in,
We can leave the bullet points in.
anyone would have to go and liaise with.
Yeah,
I mean, it's,
I mean, it just makes it very.
it makes it more difficult for the applicant, really. I mean, the bullet points say you just delete tongue dependent and.
No, we don't.
Demonstrate that they have actively involved the local community in the planning.
Yeah, the local community. Keep that to be one. Because they are part of the community as far as I'm concerned.
And if there's anything that an applicant might think is need specific.
Yeah.
Yeah, we input will.
Is everyone happy with that?
Yeah.
So all in favour? Thank you. And now we can close our meeting?
Yes, we can. That was like pulling teeth, wasn't it, that whole meeting, really?
In the live stream, please.
So we're going to have a closing paragraph here. Thank you. Thank you.
Let your peace reign on all the people of the world. Amen.
Mm.
Thank you.